Hi guys, so welcome to a video which is a continuation from the previous two, and this is about the bottom 7 teams in the Premier League relative to position from last season and promoted teams. So first team to discuss is Leicester, and obviously they've had a change of management, and the main things that I want to discuss is, you know, they've obviously bought a few players in, um, mainly Okazaki and a few players over there. I mean, but they haven't really changed much, and I think the general first 11 is going to be very similar to last season's first 11. In terms of players that I recommend, Shamaikov, of course, you've got him. Um, now, they bought Christian Fox, and I think he will be um, first team. It might be worth considering. Um, Slot from last season showed he has the potential to get some, attacking points. So he for sure, and also obviously Morgan. But what's not very clear is how Leicester are going to arrange their back four under Ranieri. So, um, until that's clear, I think Schlott for sure is the one I recommend, and maybe Futch. But otherwise, I wouldn't necessarily gamble with the rest. In midfield, I think Mahrez has been a good player for a while and has shown great potential to really emerge. And I think if there's a list of midfield you want to get, it's definitely Mahrez. And in strikers, well, to be honest, they've been playing pretty much all these players. But I've seen Vardy play in the wing. I've seen two strikers being executed. I think Vardy is obviously a player to consider. Even Kramaric. I think Kramaric is a good striker. I think it's a matter of can he get his form in. Ujoa and Nugent, similarly again, Okazaki, these are all players that will be somewhat involved. I actually think it's somewhat risky, but if you want to buy a lesser striker at all cost, um, maybe Vardy is the one to consider for now, and then see how it pans out with the other four, and see how Ranieri really wants to execute them in the Premier League, because obviously how he sets up his team against, let's say, a top four team and a team around him in the table will be very different. Next team is Newcastle, and obviously again, like Leicester, change of management with Steve McLaren in. Krul, first team keeper, 4.5 is a good option. In defence, all the defenders really that we discuss are around 4.5. They obviously bought Mbemba, and I think they bought him from Anderlecht, yeah. And Yanma is probably the one that I would recommend if you're going to buy a Newcastle defender, because of the fact that he does offer, points and assists from last season, and there are cheaper alternatives available, like Colaccini worth 4.5 on third, but I do think Yanma is a better option. In terms of midfield, Wijnaldum is a recent good signing, and he's definitely a very good talented player. I think he's somewhat multi in the sense he's an all-rounded player, but he's definitely a player worth considering. Cabella didn't hit the heights which some people thought he could hit from Montpellier to Newcastle, but he could potentially hit that with McLaren. So, and we've also got Sissoko, Colback. I think the rest of the players are pretty much the same. De Jong, yeah. I just see this team. The players I recommend if you're going to get Newcastle midfielder, Wijnaldum, Cabella if he's fit and firing, nothing with consideration, and Sissoko for £6 million. But then again, it depends how Sissoko's played, because offensively he can get goals, but depends what kind of job does McLaren really want to do in those type of games. Lastly, Mitrovic looks like the main striker for Newcastle this season. Serbian born. I actually think he's the striker you want to get from Newcastle. Papiss Cisse hasn't gone yet. There are rumours that he might leave. But I definitely think Mitrovic over Cisse. So yeah. Sunderland, so yep, Pantelimon, Dick Advocaat, I think he wants his team to be defensively solid. So, and obviously he's got Kabul and from Tottenham. I think he'll be somewhat involved in the first team actually this season. So, I think the player you want to get is, if you want to go for a central defender, go for someone like Kabul or even Cortez. O'Shea played as well, but I think maybe Kabul or Cortez might be the one, because I think O'Shea is kind of aging now, and you might want to consider after looking at a couple of games which the centre back is really performing in the first team sheet. But for me, the one is Van Aanholt. £5 million last season. He got sufficient assists, 5 assists altogether. So it's a no-brainer. If you want to get someone defender, pay a bit more, but it's definitely worth it because Van Aanholt is definitely quite advanced in his gameplay further up the pitch as well. In terms of midfield, yeah, I mean, they obviously bought Lens and one of the few signings they've made. Potentially, he is maybe one to look out for if you haven't seen him before, but that's about it. I mean, I don't think there's any other player I would honestly recommend you guys to get because I honestly don't think they will be hitting it consistently throughout the season. So Lens is worth considering, but even then, I just don't think I'll totally recommend him. I think if you're going to get a Southampton, Sunderland defensive player, then I would go for the 4 at 5.5. Next team is Villa, and Villa have had a lot of changes to the team. You've seen Cleverly gone to back to Man United, to Everton. You've seen Delph go, you've seen Benteke go, and they obviously bought Bun from Norwich, and someone who Sherwood believes in, potentially in the first team ahead of Guzan potentially. We've also got the defender situation. Obviously, they bought Amarvi, who looks like he'll be a first team player. But Kuna, he's somewhat been, kind of used as a midfielder in some games. So that might be worth considering. But otherwise, even Richardson's quite advanced some games as well. But mainly now he's starting to get used, as a defender on the wings, so on the flanks. So in terms of players I recommend, I think Richards has been doing quite a few mistakes in the friendly games I've watched. So even though he might start, I think eventually he might get dropped. And Amarvi, Richards, Houghton, these are probably players to consider. Bakuna, if he's definitely playing in midfield, he's definitely a player to consider because he has got ability to gain points, and as a defender, it's further intensified. In midfield, now they obviously got, they've brought Sinclair in, they've got Guy, I think his team just avoided relegation in the French league. So, in terms of players I recommend, Grealish, he's a lot of things I expected from him and potentially can deliver. And Zogbia for sure. In Zogbia, I think this might be a season from where he could get involved at some points. Road2 and Sinclair similarly. So, I mean, there is somewhat of a range of cheap Villa defenders to consider. In terms of the ones that I would particularly handpick, probably Sinclair and Zogbia. And I think Nzobia can do it this season. I think he has shown in some season for Newcastle before, Wigan. He can get goals. Maybe that's what Sherwood is looking at. Just so it's clear, guys, this is Sanchez, not Alexis Sanchez. I see some people saying, look, Alexis Sanchez is worth 4.5 on Fantasy Premier League. No, this is not Alexis Sanchez. This is Carlos Sanchez. Okay. Now, in terms of strikers, they bought Rudy Gestede from Blackburn. And it's a good signing. I've actually rated this player for a long time, even when he was at Cardiff, and I think it's a really good signing. Jordan Ayew, I'm pretty sure he'll be pairing to Taker at Villa, so he's definitely worth considering. Looks like he'll be the first team player as well. Kozak has been playing the games recently, and he has been scoring. So, but I do think Ayew will be the main striker, maybe Gestede as well, and if you had to gamble on one, probably Ayew because he does have the penalty duty that favours him. Now, in terms of the promoted teams, rather than discussing getting too much in detail, because some of you guys, I'll just rather not know about these players. I'll just go straight to the points of which players I think you should get. In Bournemouth, I would say keepers, you can probably get better ones anyways. So when it comes to use cheap defenders, Mings is worth considering, and Diston. The rest are 4.5. You can maybe look at different alternatives out of other teams, to be frank. In midfield, similarly again, Stanislas is maybe one to consider. Gosling's a bit too further back, so Stanislas at 4.5 has been playing in the friendlies, definitely worth consideration. Richie 6 has been getting goals in the Championship, but Stanislas is probably the cheaper one that might be worth the gamble. And lastly, in strike, Wilson has been playing. And so yeah, I mean, That's basically it. If you want to go for that cheaper alternative and there's no other player really looking in within that price range, so if these players that I mentioned are in it, I think they're worth consideration. Similarly, again with the promoted teams, go to Watford now. In terms of players I recommend, like I said, most of these guys are worth 4.5, and I actually honestly think that there's not a particular defender that I would actually promote from Watford. I go to the midfield. Kapuri is actually far more defensive than what people think he is, so unfortunately I wouldn't recommend him. And Anya has bought someone involved. I think also another thing to mention is I haven't mentioned this. Bournemouth have actually bought Tomlin from Middlesbrough, and I think he might be a good signing depending on his value in fantasy. So he did get sufficient goals for Middlesbrough last year. Now back to Watford. Yeah, I mean there's not particular players that I would mention. Cathcart obviously has some Premier League experience. With Blackpool, I just think a lot of these players, having seen them from the Championship, I think Watford might be the ones actually that might have the hardest task. To the strikers, Deeney does get goals, so he's definitely worth considering for 5.5. Definitely worth consideration. But Kapure, no, he's far too defensive minded and not a player for fantasy. And lastly, Norwich City.
What are you paying for?
So in terms of Norwich, I would go for maybe Brady. I mean, having played for Hull, and he's shown his ability on the flank to deliver cross balls for Republic of Ireland. He's probably the one player I would say, along with Howson, because he did get sufficient number of goals for Norwich last season in the Championship, was that attacking threat. Those are the two players I'd recommend. From defence, yeah, I mean for 4.5 again, similarly same situation. Turner might be involved in the first team. If that is, then he might be the sneaky £4 million cheap buy to consider. So he might be the one worth considering, if anything, along with Brady. And obviously you have Redmond and you have Jerome as a threat generally for Norwich. Jerome is definitely worth considering for £5 million as he is the main striker for Norwich. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Just in case you guys heard a background noise, it's actually another friend in the background. Don't be worried, he's also another fancy player. So yeah, and please, if you haven't seen the videos before, do watch them and leave any suggestions, any advice, any further information you would like. I've done a quick overview. I've been quite busy the last few weeks, and so yeah, and I'm trying to do a question/discussion video along with my game week videos weekly. So if there's any questions that you guys want to raise through the comments for the videos, I don't mind discussing them in detail, anything in particular. So if there's anything you want me to discuss, do mention it. And also, a video has been posted of the league for you guys to join. Do join that league. Hopefully there'll be quite a lot of us playing that. It's a classic league, so obviously you want to start on game week 1. So yeah, thanks for watching my video. Yeah, see ya.